You all set? Good evening. My name is Chuck Iovan, and I will be presiding over this evening's Planning Board meeting, June 14th, 2023. Before we start, I'd like to read that for those in attendance, under the provision of the open meeting law, attendees are informed that this meeting is being recorded by Urban Media Arts, formerly MATV. I have not been notified that any other video or audio recording of this meeting will occur. The next thing we will do is we will do our roll call, and we'll start with Risa Gray. Go ahead, Risa.
Risa Gray, Planning Board.
Planning Board.
Diane Shuha, Planning Board.
Chuck Iovan, Planning Board. Eric.
Eric McCush, Planning Board. Pat Hayes, Planning Board.
Eric Henry, Planning Board.
Henry Susi, Planning Board.
Thank you very much. The first petition we're going to hear this evening is 398 Pleasant Street. Diane, if you could read the notice, please.
The Malden Planning Board will hold a public hearing in the Herbert L. Jackson Council Chamber, Malden City Hall, 215 Pleasant Street, Malden, Mass. At 7 p.m. on Wednesday, June 14th, 2023, on the petition of Redefine Beauty Spa, LLC, on behalf of Horizon Consulting and Management, LLC, permit application number C00056811-2023, seeking a special permit under Title 12, Chapter 12, Section 030 of the Code of the City of Malden to allow licensed massage therapy salon use of property in the residential office zoning district, namely to add massage therapy to the existing beauty spa / salon at the property known as and numbered 398, 398A Pleasant Street, Malden, and by a city assessor's parcel ID number 030134412.
Thank you very much, Diane. Is the petitioner present? If the petitioner is present, if you come up to the microphone, give your name and residential address for the record, and sign the clipboard so that we have the correct spelling and addresses. Then you can present what it is you're looking to do. Okay. If name and address for the record, please.
398 Pleasant Street in Malden.
And what's your name?
My name is Sao Ling Gao.
Okay. You want to describe what it is that you're looking to do at 389 Pleasant Street?
Yeah, I currently own the place. It's Redefine Beauty Spa. I'm currently doing eyelash and facials, and I'm planning to adding massage therapy. So that's why I'm here for the special permit.
Okay, so currently your salon's doing eyelashes and facial.
Yes.
Will you continue to provide that service, or will you be cutting over totally to massage therapy?
I will continue doing that. Also, I'm planning to adding manicure, pedicure, and hair in the future. So I'm adding massage therapy now.
Okay. Okay, let me ask you a question. Are the hours of operation going to stay the same as they are now?
Yes, will be Monday to Friday will be 9:30 to 7:30, 9:30 to 7:30, and weekends, Saturday and Sunday will be 9 to 7 p.m.
So 9 to 7:30 and then 9 to 7.
Yes.
Are you doing any renovations to the interior of the building? You're only on the second floor, correct?
Yes.
And no changes to the first floor?
No.
But I see the plan you have here. It looks like you're adding massage beds to all the rooms, or do you currently have the 5 rooms now?
Yes.
So the only thing you'll be doing is adding the beds?
Yes. It's already bed there. Facials and massage bed is the same. We can do facial and massage at the Shin room.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, so what changes are you making to add the massage therapy? Are you doing anything to the equipment, to the staff?
Yes, we're adding a towel warmer and some more oil for massage.
But is it the same staff that's going to administer the massages?
Yes.
So is everyone trained? Are they licensed massage therapists, or?
Currently, only myself learning, working now. I have the a facial license and the massage therapy license. Yep.
Will that be something that you'll be pursuing with your other staff?
Yes.
How many staff do you have?
Oh, right now just me.
Oh, okay, so it's
Yeah.
only you?
Yep.
Do you have any anticipation of increasing the number of staff?
I will, when I add in the massage therapy, I will start hiring massage therapy person.
You will? One other one?
Huh?
One person or more than one person?
I think more than one. Will be more than one, yeah.
Currently in your operation, are you the only person on staff?
Yes.
And so that might increase if the massage takes off.
Yes.
Okay. So no structural changes or anything like that. Do you currently park on site?
Oh, yeah. The building have a lot of parking around the building on both sides and the back too.
Okay, and you able to use that, and your current clientele are able to park there also?
Yes.
Does the massage therapy generate more waste than the eyelash and facials? Like, will you be increasing your trash disposal?
Trash? No. No. The massage will not cause a lot of trash.
No, just laundry with,
Yeah, just laundry, yeah.
yeah, okay. When would you be looking to cut over and start offering the new service if this is approved?
If it's approved, I will stop like the application to the stable. Once they come for inspection after, and I can start working massage therapy.
After the state approves you?
Yes.
Okay. Is there anything else that you'd like to share or present?
I just want to say that I really want to get the special permit since I already have the facial and eyelash. I want to make the business getting more better, and so that I can make more income for support my family. So I really hope everyone can help me to improve that. Yep.
Okay, well, let's see. Does anyone have any questions for the petitioner? Eric McCush.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just one question in regards to the laundry. Are you using a company to handle your laundry? Are you doing laundry on site?
I'm doing laundry outside.
So you take it home and,
Not take them home to the laundry store.
okay,
Yep.
okay. Thank you.
Thank you. you. Any other questions for the petitioner? Michelle, do you have any questions for the petitioner?
No.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
At this point, I'd like to open it up for anyone that would like to speak in favor of this petition. Anyone to speak in favor? If you could give your name and address for the record and sign the clipboard, please.
Joseph Garcia, 24 Wheeler Street, Malden, Mass. I'm just coming up to support Charlene Gao for her petition. I was her instructor throughout her entire program. I've been a massage therapist for 30 years. She works extremely hard. She was a top student. She always assisted all her classmates. She works exceptionally hard at what she does, and she's very smart. And she even became my teaching assistant once she graduated. She was that good and she was that helpful in class. And I think she'll be a very successful therapist and entrepreneur. And that's basically what I wanted to say.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else that would like to speak in favor of this petition? Michelle, do you have anything to read in favor?
No.
Seeing and hearing nothing more in favor, I declare that part of the hearing closed. Is there anyone that would like to speak in opposition to this petition? Anyone in opposition? Michelle, anything to read in opposition?
No.
Seeing and hearing no one in opposition, declare that part of the hearing closed. Michelle, can you take us through your staff report, please?
So this is a staff report. It's entitled Planning Report and Recommendations dated June 14, 2023. It's regarding 398 Pleasant Street. I will not read it verbatim into the record, but it is incorporated herein by reference into the record of this hearing. So we heard the property is the site of a two-story building. It's currently used for dental offices on the first floor and a beauty salon on the second floor. We heard the petitioner is the current operator, what the proposal is. Again, no changes to the first floor or site are proposed. The existing floor plan will be used. You have here itemization of the plans that were submitted. You also have copies of those plans. The property in your package, the property is located in the residential office zoning district. The dental offices are classified as medical center use, which was allowed by special permit in this district, granted in case number 18-09. You have a copy of that permit attached. The beauty salon is classified as retail services use. That's allowed by right in this district. And the proposed licensed massage therapy salon is allowed by special permit in this district. The property, I won't give you the history, that's here. The direct abutter to the west is a single-family dwelling. All direct abutters to the east, south, and west are two-family residential dwellings. To the north, on the opposite side of Pleasant Street, is an institutional use, the BB School, a public K-8 school. Surrounding land uses are residential, namely single and two-family residential dwellings. Business, namely medical and dental offices and general offices, and an institutional, namely a church. The property conforms to all dimensional controls for current uses, medical center and retail services, and for the proposed additional use, licensed massage therapy salon. There's a history here of the building. I won't read that into the record. In terms of parking requirements, the proposal requires a total of 17 parking spaces. 10 are required for the medical center use, which is for the dentist offices, and 7 are required for the retail services and or licensed massage therapy salon use of the second floor. When the most recent special permit was granted, in case 1809, there were 11 parking spaces provided on site. There was a parking deficiency of 6 or 35%. That was allowed by special permit. The parking plan submitted with the petition provides 13 parking spaces, so a deficiency of 4 spaces or 24%. It is a similar layout as was previously approved. itemized where the locations are and how they're configured. The parking layout is non-conforming as to width of parking aisles and driveways. Again, I've itemized the specifics of that. There is a one-way counterclockwise circulation pattern currently in use, so vehicles enter the western driveway and exit the eastern driveway. On-site snow storage is required. Previously, the previous petitioner and the prior special permit and property owner had stated the intention to contract for snow removal services for the parking lot. The most recent special permit includes the following condition: remove plowed snow from the site per contract submitted to the city. This petitioner did submit the current contract the property owner has with the contractor for snow removal services. In terms of screening, the property currently only partially complies with the requirements to screen off-street parking areas from abutting residential properties. There's no screening along the entire western property line. This is incorrect. There's no portion missing or broken. So delete that. Screening was required by the prior special permit. There was a condition that stated no screening shall be installed along the western boundary, and that was at the request of the residential butter at 400 Pleasant Street. However, it is subject to future installation. Fencing along that western boundary may interfere with access and maneuverability in the parking lot. The proposal does not require a traffic impact study as provided by this board's rules and procedures. The findings required to grant a special permit: this board would need to find that any creation or increase in violations of dimensional controls or parking requirements will not be more detrimental to the neighborhood, that the traffic and traffic patterns generated by the proposed use will not adversely impact any of the surrounding streets or create a traffic or safety hazard, that the proposed use will not be more detrimental to the neighborhood, the proposed use is not in conflict with surrounding land uses, and that the proposed use is in the interest of the common good. Provided you make those findings, so this recommendation is prepared prior to the public hearing, and provided that this board makes the required findings, that a special permit be granted subject to the following conditions. 1, the first floor may be used for dental offices only. Any other medical center use of the first floor or of any other portion of the building shall require a special permit amendment of this special permit. 2, the second floor may be used for a licensed massage therapy salon operated as a separate business or operated as part of a retail services business, for example, a beauty salon. 3, the basement and attic may be used for storage and utilities only. 4, maintain the existing parking layout for 13 parking spaces with one-way circulation pattern. Enter only western drive, exit only eastern drive, designated with pavement markings and signage. 5, remove plowed snow from site per contract submitted to city. 6, maintain fencing along eastern and southern property lines to screen parking areas. No fencing is required along western property line unless requested by abutters. And 7, no permanent dumpsters allowed on site.
Thank you, Michelle. Does anyone have any questions for Michelle on the staff's report? Eric Henry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Michelle, maybe the medical use, what is that, a future medical use that there was mention of, or?
The existing dental offices are classified as medical center use, so
Okay.
that's on the first floor.
And there's any indications how the petitioner plans to use that herself? It has to be dental office, or they have to come back before us or something?
No, the petitioner is only proposing to use the second floor.
Okay,
The first floor will remain medical center use for dental offices only,
okay,
which is what the first condition says. That's the same condition that was in the special permit that this board granted when it allowed the conversion from general offices to dental offices
I got it, thank you.
back in 2018.
Do we have any other parcels or properties that are being used in this kind of fashion?
No,
Okay.
this is actually the first petition. You may recall there was another petition a year or two ago on Main Street that the city originally thought was going to be licensed massage therapy salon, but he ended up withdrawing because it was actually just considered a retail service. He wasn't a licensed massage therapy. But no, since this ordinance has been on the books, there have been no special permits issued for this.
Thank you.
Eric McCush.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Would we need to put in a condition saying only licensed massage therapists can perform the duty of a massage therapist, or is that obvious just by city ordinances?
Yes, that licensed massage therapy salon is defined by city ordinance, and I'm just going to quickly get to that so that we make sure we're all on the same page. So if you look up the definition, licensed massage therapy salon, it specifically states that it's a place, office, clinic, or establishment licensed by the State Board of Health to offer massage services or acupuncture. Then it goes on to define specifically what that means. So it's already defined. We wouldn't need to state that.
Okay, anyone else? What is your pleasure then? Is there a motion? Eric McCush.
I'd like to make a motion to grant the special permit with the 7 conditions listed.
Henry Susi.
I will second that motion.
Thank you. So Eric McCush has made the motion to grant with the 7 conditions. And before we take a vote, do you understand the 7 conditions? Okay, thank you. So,
Yes, and just for the board's reference, they were given a copy of the staff report and asked to go through that, so.
okay. no,
I do understand your point, Mr. Chair. Some of the conditions apply to the property and not to this particular petitioner. but
Right,
it
and
will
where they're,
run-
and where they're not represented by council,
Right, right.
I just want to make sure that the petitioner does understand what's being voted on this evening.
Right, right. Thank you.
Okay. Well, when you're ready, Michelle, let me know.
Yep. So this is, the motion is to grant the special permit with 7 conditions. Diane Shuha,
Yes.
Tawadej Geber Selassie,
Yes.
Risa Gray,
Yes.
Patrick Hayes,
Yes.
Eric Henry,
Yes.
Eric McCush,
Yes.
Henry Susi,
Yes.
Chuck Ioven.
Yes, the petition's been granted with conditions. Thank you very much. Okay, let the record reflect that Stephanie Stone is now in attendance. Thank you very much, Stephanie. In a moment, the next petition that we will hear will be 11 Charles Street. Yep, take your time. Get it going. Oh, can I see that folder? Karen McDonald, Pat.
I believe it's the same email that he sent.
Yeah, I don't see him though, so I don't know. So the one
Yeah, I have
looks like it's on letterhead though.
I also have the mayor's letter, so,
Yeah.
and I have a couple other things I need to give out as permits too.
Do you want to give it all out at once or
Sure,
what's that?
sure, yes. Do you want me to have them come up and start to get set up?
Who?
Petitioner? Is there-
Oh, they're going to present? Okay, I didn't realize they were giving a presentation.
If the petitioner for 11 Charles wants to come start to get set up, it might take a couple minutes. Are you finding that? It's click share? Click share?
No, but I don't run Windows, so. I think the input needs to be changed on that, because my laptop is detecting.
Oh, wait a
that.
second, podium, I'm sorry. Now it should be. I didn't have you. Are you finding it now?
I can see the connector, the connection to it.
So is it blinking? The little fob? Is there a
I just see,
fob?
there's an HDMI cable here, I just plugged that in.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
Yay. Okay.
See if I can get the resolutions matched here.
So,
To what? Yes. Okay, are you ready to go? Are they all set up?
yeah, I think so.
Okay, I'm going to give the microphone to Risa Gray, who has a statement to make. Go ahead, Risa.
I'm making a disclosure pursuant to MGL 268A.23B.3. I'm a former employee of Arrow Street, Inc. I'm able to perform my duties fairly and objectively as a planning board member in the petition regarding 11 Charles Street. I'll file the disclosure form with my appointing authority, the mayor.
Thank you very much, Risa. And as I mentioned earlier, welcome Stephanie joining us. So we have a full board. If Diane Chuhar, if you could read the notice, that would be great. Thank you.
The Malden Planning Board will hold a public hearing in the Herbert L. Jackson Council Chamber, Malden City Hall, 215 Pleasant Street, Malden, Mass. At 7 p.m. on Wednesday, June 14th, 2023, on the petition of SL Realty Holdings, LLC, permit application number CMID 053698-2023, seeking a special permit under Title 12, Chapter 12, Section 030, and Title 12, Chapter 12, Section 300 of the Code of the City of Malden to allow multifamily residential dwelling use more than 3 stories, but not exceeding 6 stories, of property in the Central Business Zoning District, and for an inclusionary development, namely to construct a building with 5 stories and a total of 51 dwelling units, including 11 affordable housing units, at the property known as and numbered 11 Charles Street, Malden, and by City's Assessor's Parcel ID number 054237707.
Thank you very much, Diane. Is the petitioner present?
Yes.
Thank you. As I mentioned to the previous petitioner, if you could give your name and residential address for the record and make sure you sign in. And anyone on your team, it looks like you have a big team here, anyone who speaks at the microphone, please have them sign the clipboard and also give their name and address for the record before they start speaking.
Sure thing.
Thank you.
My name is Jay Landstein. My residential address is 422 East Fifth Street in Boston.
Thank you. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, thank you for your time tonight. I'll try to get through the presentation and hopefully make this a little bit interactive. I'm sure there's a lot of questions, and I'll try not to get too much into the weeds unless you have specific questions. I have with me from my team, Sean Selby is our architect from Arrow Street. Buller Engineering is our civil engineer. Emily Anderson is here. And Ian McKinnon from Howard Stein Hudson, who's our transportation engineer. And the peer review for the city was also done by Vanas Associates, who's here as well. Essentially, they're checking the work of Ian, making sure, keeping him honest. So we'll have lots of transportation knowledge. So a little bit about the proponent. Cantella and Company is a 70-year-old financial services company. I'm the CEO of the company and one of the owners. SL Realty is our affiliated real estate holding company for this project. Our company was located in Boston for more than 60 years, and we relocated to Malden in 2019 with the plan to occupy this site. We moved to 350 Main Street, where we stayed until our sublease was expiring, and we recently purchased an office condo across the street at 389 Main Street. We have about 20 full-time employees in Malden, and we serve our financial professionals who are everywhere from in our office to across the country. We have approximately 25,000 clients that our firm serves. I'm sure many of you are probably familiar with the site, but I'll just start with a little bit of background on the site. It's just over 1 acre. The proposed building area is 76,000 gross square feet, which are roughly 15,000 square foot floor plates on the full floors. The proposed fifth floor is a smaller floor plate, as you can see from the rendering. It's in the Central Business District. The prior use was the Ryan Family Amusements bowling alley, which we demolished in 2019 pursuant to a demolition permit issued by the city. There are various uses by right allowed in the district, including general office, retail up to 5,000 square feet, and supermarket. Retail over 5,000 square feet is allowed by special permit, as well as multifamily residential, research and development, light manufacturing, and a host of other uses. I cite many of these because these are uses that we considered as alternatives as well, which I'll talk a little bit about in a minute. As far as parking requirements within the Central Business District, all non-residential uses are exempt from parking requirements entirely. Residential uses require 1 space per bedroom for the market rate units and 1 space per unit for the affordable units. And our proposal fully complies with the parking requirement. The loading requirements, as Michelle outlined in her memo to the board, are a little bit more opaque or confusing, I should say. The uses that we've proposed, which is general office and residential, don't require loading per the ordinance. We have set aside some loading areas to minimize disruption to the neighborhood in terms of Amazon deliveries, tenant move-in, move-out. Although those are not required by the ordinance, we've done that to try to mitigate the traffic impacts. Some of the other uses that are allowed either by right or special permit do require loading either on premise or a waiver from the City Traffic Commission. We did not seek a waiver from the Traffic Commission at this point because we don't know what those uses might be, and it didn't feel legitimate to ask for a waiver of something without being able to say, this is the type of business that will be there, and this is what the volume looks like, to say, we want to be exempt from a requirement and we don't know what we're asking you to okay. Just didn't seem like the right thing to do. So we may appear before the Traffic Commission at a later date if our special permit is granted and one of those uses does come up that requires loading. So just to take a little step back, the site history, we acquired the site in August 2018. We went through design, engineering, permitting between September of 2018, November of 2019, when we started demolition. We had a foundation and footings permit issued and began work on our office building in early 2020. Not the best timing for building an office building, as it turned out. We were forced to stop construction April 1st, 2020, per the state COVID restrictions. And that ended up being kind of the end of our construction. To take a little walk back in history of what was permitted for that building, that was going to be a 4-story, 80,000 square foot ground-up construction building. The first floor was going to be fairly similar to the uses that we have in mind here. A gym that's common for the tenants, bike storage, some kind of common spaces, areas for retail-type tenants to be determined, and then floors 2, 3, and 4 were planned for general office. Our plan was to occupy the full 4th floor. Like many companies, our office plans and needs have changed dramatically in the last 3 years, and we don't see that coming back. That proposal, although no parking was required by the ordinance, we proposed 55 parking spaces at grade. As I mentioned, we stopped construction in April of 2020. Since then, that sort of forced us to consider alternative uses and what the future of the office market is, which, although no one knows for sure, does not look very promising. Downtown Boston office vacancies are somewhere in the neighborhood of 20%, not counting underutilized spaces. And as the Malden office market is really an extension of downtown, unless downtown is bursting at the seams and there's tenants seeking value opportunities, we just don't think that there's viability to build office in Malden. There's also a number of vacant offices that are already built that aren't getting leased. So we don't think we're going to have a materially different product, which is why we didn't pursue restarting the office project. These are some renderings that Arrow Street did of our construction. These are similar to how the residential apartments would look. Obviously, they'll be, the apartments won't be quite this large. The construction type that we're proposing is mass timber, which is, if you're familiar with LVLs, it's kind of along that line. It's small pieces of wood that are put together into very large, both structural and kind of interior design in one. The individual pieces of wood are small, but then they're glued and pressed together to make very large pieces. And the construction type by the building code requires that all of the structural elements be exposed. There are no ceilings allowed in type 4 construction, which presents a very visually appealing building. And we think that this is very representative of what we can expect. This was a rendering of the office. This was a rendering of what the lobby space would look like. Tall ceilings. The wood slat walls will be a similar color and style. As you can see, there's a little bit of a drop, what looks like a drop ceiling there. It's actually the slats, and when you look at it on an angle, it looks to be a ceiling, but it's actually exposed per the building code. UMass Amherst built the Design Center building several years ago using the same wood species and a lot of the same techniques. And we took a tour of that building as part of our due diligence, and I can say firsthand that it looks very much like these renderings. So since we ceased construction, as I mentioned, we looked at a number of alternative uses, probably any use we could think of. We put in to the state, we applied for a couple of different projects. The first were 2 different agencies that were looking to relocate state offices. We've had state tenants at a building we owned previously in Cambridge, so I was familiar with that process. The state ended up pulling the RFP, and the agencies stayed where they were. In February of 2021, we had a letter of intent signed with H Mart, which is an Asian grocery store, for 53,000 square feet. They then went dark and gave us no explanation for why they pulled out of the deal. I believe that they've signed a lease in Medford, just outside of Malden, but they just went dark on us. That use was by right as a supermarket. July of 2021, We put in another RFP to DCAM for the Middlesex Sheriff's Office, which ironically was our tenant in Cambridge, just a different section of the Middlesex Sheriff's Office. I was told we were the high bidder because of cost, obviously with COVID inflating building materials. That didn't do us any favors. In July of 2021, we also had a discussion with Idle Hands Brewery, which is in Malden, just down the street on Commercial Street, as many of you probably know. They would have required a special permit for this project to open a second location or move their operations and expand. They ultimately decided on a different alternative location outside of Malden. And then in September of 2021, we were approached by another Asian grocery store, 99 Ranch. They wanted to do a single use for the entire site. H Mart was going to fit into our mixed use project. 99 Ranch wanted to take the whole entire site and make it a single use tenant. That wasn't really our preferred use of the site. We didn't think that that was the best use of the site and wanted to continue exploring alternatives. Even though we could have done it, it was by right, it just didn't feel like the right use they wanted a cheap concrete block building, would not have been, just didn't think it was a good use, even though they were very excited about the site. We've also explored lab development. We've explored almost anything and everything for the site. So this kind of goes through the timeline since the construction shut down. We spent quite a bit of time on alternative uses, studying that, talking with different professionals in a variety of areas, retail, ground-up uses, industrial, anything and everything we could come up with to try to find something besides a dirt pile, and have not had any luck. In early 2022, we had an initial meeting with Councilor Crowe, with the mayor, and a number of other city officials to talk about what the appetite is for a mixed-use project that included residential, which has been, as we know, in this site specifically, has been controversial. The previous proposal was deemed much too large, which was 99 units, as well as a community health center. The feedback we got was, as expected, that was too large, so don't make another proposal that's that scale. So we've tried to right-size the proposal to something that's going to work in the neighborhood, that's going to work financially, and is going to be an attractive addition to the neighborhood. So we've gone through the process, had several meetings with the city. We held an abutters meeting in May of 2022. Out of that, we made a number of changes, most significantly to take all the traffic off of Charles Street and have entry and exit only on Middlesex Street, which required a substantial redesign to the building footprint. And since then, we've made a number of other tweaks and improvements as we've had discussions with various stakeholders in the city. So a little bit of a comparison to what our original proposal was. Because of the different needs of an office building, of having a central core with one set of bathrooms and mechanicals in the hallway and a core going around the outside to enable subdivision of the space, residential doesn't need that. So the footprint is a little bit narrower. As I mentioned, we pulled the back in a little bit to make the entry and exit off of Middlesex Street work. We've also redesigned parking to add an additional 12 parking spaces for a total of 67. So a lot of, as frustrating as it's been of all the design and engineering work we've done, a lot of what we have done to date is adaptable or reusable. So we have our geotech engineering is done, our environmental work is done, much of our civil work is done. Our stormwater system actually has already been mostly constructed. It's already been reviewed by the city engineer. That was one of the first things we did on the site, and the design we have now allows it to stay where it is. The capacity is still adequate for the building. And the mass timber that we were going to build the building is sitting in a warehouse in New Hampshire. So we have that all sourced and ready to go. And a lot of the structural engineering will be similar. We'll need to make some changes. So just to kind of recap the high level of what the proposal is, there'll be about 7,800 square feet of retail on the ground floor, which is broken up into 2 spaces. We've designed that to, when I say retail, it's not necessarily retail. It could be other uses, but ground floor type spaces. It could be restaurants, it could be a coffee shop, it could be a bank. Our leasing team at Avis and Young they're very confident that that space will be attractive to a range of tenants. And we've designed it so that it's subdividable into different sizes so that we can appeal to as many different tenants as possible. The 5th floor is a smaller floor, it's about a 5,000 square foot general office, which will occupy at least a portion of that. Floors 2, 3, and 4 make up 51 apartments. Of those 51, 11 are designated as affordable. This will generate about 50 construction jobs and a total investment of somewhere in the neighborhood of $35 million. As I mentioned, this is kind of a recap of the floor plating. The ground floor is going to be designed to be complementary uses to the other residential and office use in the building. We have a multi-purpose room, which we haven't necessarily planned exactly what that will be for, but we have built an entry directly from the outside, so we envision making that available to the community for community functions, to be able to come in and out, not necessarily just limited to residents of the building. We have indoor and outdoor bicycle parking far in excess of what's required by the ordinance. So our thinking is the indoor would be primarily used by tenants of the building. The outdoor could be used by visitors, someone coming to one of the retail establishments down the road. So this slide is a breakdown of the unit mix and the approximate sizes. I think Michelle's memo has some detail on this as well. The ordinance requires either to be paid to the Affordable Trust Fund or rounded up. So there's a 7 and change requirement. We've proposed 11 units, which is in excess of the requirement. It's over 20% of the project. This, I believe, would be the first project to actually construct units under the new inclusion. Entire amount in lieu to the trust fund, so we'll be the first to actually construct it. As per discussions with city stakeholders, we intend to make the maximum preference allowable to Malden residents. We've partnered with Maloney Properties, who's a leader in the space in terms of administering the lotteries, the qualifications, the requalifications of tenants, making sure that all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed in terms of all the regulations around affordable housing, making sure that we're following all the rules and regulations. They manage over 10,000 units across 80 cities and towns in Massachusetts. The reason that we're here before the board is that the special permit is triggered by the inclusionary zoning as well as residential use in the central business district. But we're not seeking any variances for parking or any other zoning elements. All of those elements comply. This project is also designed to be very sustainable, starting with the building materials. The mass timber is a renewable resource. It's one of the most innovative construction types. It's carbon capture. It's very pleasing to the eye. It cuts down on waste because all of the pieces are assembled off-site. They're built to spec. Holes are drilled. It's like a giant Lego set. In addition to the mass timber, we're going to have electric vehicle charging. We've scoped so far 2 spaces that will have a charger and infrastructure for at least 2 additional spaces. As I mentioned, bike storage, indoor and outdoor. We're going to have solar ready on the rooftop. If we may go forward with panels, but at a minimum, we'll have the conduit there, so it's ready. We think we're going to have the apartments be all electric. Although the new stretch energy code is still in implementation phase, we're very much thinking of this project in those terms, taking the passive house principles, air sealing, extra insulation, trying to make the building very, very energy efficient. I don't know that we'll get to net zero, but I think we'll be close. We're preserving all the street trees that are existing, as well as planting 7 additional trees. We have a number of open space areas designated on the plans that will be, that we intend to be recreational in nature for the residents and make it feel like home and not living in the middle of a concrete jungle. Some of the benefits to the community, we believe in being good neighbors. We intend to make everything around the project better. All the existing sidewalks will be replaced around the entire perimeter of the project. Curbing will be reset or replaced as needed. We're going to upgrade the Charles and Middlesex crossing that's there currently to comply with ADA standards. We have also proposed to furnish and install a flashing beacon crosswalk system across Charles Street where there's not currently a crosswalk. We've already discussed that with city engineer to make sure that that's feasible, so we'll work with the city on the finer points of designing that, but that is shown on the plans. For anyone who may not be familiar with that term, there's one on Middlesex Street just up here if you've seen that flashing beacon controlled crosswalk. That's what it would be. As I mentioned, in response to the feedback at the abutters meeting, we changed all of the traffic entry and exit to go on Middlesex Street to minimize the impact on Charles Street. The on-street parking will be similar. There were 2 existing curb cuts on Charles Street to the site previously. Our original proposal was to close both of those and only have 1 curb cut on Middlesex Street. After conferring with the fire department, they requested to have entry and exit access on Charles Street via a new curb cut, essentially where the front door of the bowling alley was, and to have that controlled by a gate so that that's not used by general traffic. That would just be there for fire department access. The way the on-street parking lines up, that requires 3 spaces to be removed from Middlesex Street based on the safe exit distance that the city's traffic engineer requested. So that means when you're coming out, you're looking sort of both ways. And currently there was parking there that they've requested that we eliminate. The Charles Street will have spaces added where the curb cuts are closed. 1 space will be removed for the fire department access, which should net us to the same number of on-street parking spaces. We've also committed to retiming the traffic signals in the area. There are some other projects that are supposed to do that as well, so we'll be verifying that that's not done, and to the extent that any are not completed, we'll complete that work as well. So overall, we believe this project will bring a lot of economic development to the city and hopefully minimal demands on city services. So this is a depiction. Michelle, do the board members have the final fire truck
Yes.
access? Okay, I
Yes.
brought some copies in case
Yes,
not.
you should have that's a single, right, a single separate page.
Okay, so this here is where the fire truck could enter and exit on Charles Street. The red denotes that there's an existing parking space that will be removed. And then on this side, you can see further up, this darker line here is the current curb cut that's there. That will be closed to enable those 2 spaces. And then there is a second curb cut up here. So depending on how you look at it, it may even be 1 added space on Charles Street. It's hard to say how those cars would be aligned if both of those curb cuts were there as they exist today. So this is an architectural site plan. I included a more schematic plan because I think this one's a little bit hard to see. But this is Middlesex Street. Charles Street is along the bottom of the screen. So this is our entry and exit here. This up here is the exit from the Walgreens drive-through. Essentially, it will be next to our driveway. So the site triangle issues I mentioned is a parking space that exists right here currently. If you're exiting this way onto Middlesex, you aren't able to see far enough out there. So the city's traffic engineer requested that we install a no parking sign there. Some of the other site features, this area that's striped here will be a move-in, move-out type loading area. So that will be coordinated with, we'll be managing the building on site as well. So tenant move-in, move-out, they'll be able to park a truck there. And then more short-term deliveries can park along here where the service entry is, and there's still plenty of space for cars to go around them. This driveway measures 24 feet from side to side. So this, what was I going to point out? So this was prior to the fire truck access here, but this is where the fire truck access is for perspective. So this one might be a little easier to read. I put both of them in there. I had a feeling it might look very small on the screen. So this shows the locations of the existing trees. I think there's actually a tree over here that's not shown on the plan that we'll maintain as well. As I mentioned, the ground floor plan is designed to be flexible in terms of the tenants. So the purple shaded areas are designated for commercial space. So this is 6,300 square feet roughly and has good frontage on both streets. So that allows it to be partitioned to meet a variety of tenants. So hopefully we can get some complementary uses. There's pedestrian entry from Middlesex Street as well as from the parking area on this side. And then there's service entry over here on the back for move in, move out. All the trash will be stored inside in rolling bins with trash chutes from the upper floors. So we're not proposing any dumpster on site. So when the trash truck will come in, roll the bins out, empty them, roll them back in, so that we're controlling any rodents, pests. I know that's been an issue in the city. This is the bike storage for interior access from inside the building for security, and then also some exterior bike racks out here as well as on Middlesex Street. The Middlesex sidewalk will feel wider in this area. This dashed line is our property line, which previously had a fence, so the building actually hangs back on the ground floor a few feet there, so that will make that sidewalk a little bit wider. So that concludes the presentation. I know I covered a lot of ground. Thank you for all of your attention. Are there any questions